Hello again YouTube, I'm Rob. I wanted to let everyone know that I've recently turned a massive corner in my life, and in fact I wanted to pass down my recently acquired wisdom down to each and every one of you. You see, in a feeble attempt to address some major hang-ups I have about myself, I decided to change my shower gel provider, and now having had first-hand experience of the absolute treat that is Radox Tea Tree and Mint shower gel has made me realise there are actually sensitive parts of my own body that I never knew could feel so minty fresh. For anyone who hasn't tried this experience, I wholly recommend it. So, on behalf of myself and indeed the whole of mankind, thank you Radox. At an affordable £1.50, you really do understand you're a consumer. For anyone that stops me in the street and says, "Hey, what's your favourite video game console?" my go-to answer is always the Sega Dreamcast. For the life of me, I can't really answer why. I think it was just a console that came at the right time in my life, and I fundamentally believe it's a console that cemented my absolute passion for video games. However, the Dreamcast was a mixed bag when it come to its titles, and I always remember this weird horror game I owned called Illbleed. All I remember about Illbleed is that it was extremely obscure, and I never got further than the first stage as I never worked out how the game actually worked. Now I'm ready to take on Illbleed for a second time and see if I can beat my younger self, earn the respect of my peers, and more importantly learn to respect myself. Let's boot it up.
For as long as I can remember, my family ran what we called a horror caravan. We hauled this house of horrors around from town to town, trying to give people a new thrill, a new nightmare.
Are you a ventriloquist? Why isn't her mouth moving? Could they just not afford, or could they just not be bothered to put it in? I already want to turn it off.
My dad was always conjuring up new devices, tricks, and traps, each one scarier than the last. Guess who he tried them out on? Yep, me. No!
So, wait. You wanted to test your own horror traps on your own daughter? I mean, firstly, that's just completely reductive, as the reaction you'd get from a single traumatized child wouldn't be comparable to the adult horror-loving target demographic that you would hope would be your paying consumer base. And secondly, it's just, it's just a little mean.
My mom couldn't stand how obsessed he'd gotten, so she thankfully divorced him when I was 6. Yet I had gotten attached to horror.
Congratulations, you have Stockholm Syndrome.
So, how'd I do?
That was great! I mean, you're the head of the Horror Research Club and
President of the Student Council. It's a given. You win this speech contest for sure.
And school's out for a whole summer. So this pans out that Michelle Waters has managed to get hold of some tickets for everyone to check out the new horror attraction called Illbleed, with the motivation that those who make it to the end will get $100 million.
Sure thing, I'm with ya. Whoa, whoa.
You want to get that a cough checked, mate? That sounds nasty. And whilst we're here, let's not forget that hard times can fall upon anyone, and even a much loved cult classic character such as Brock from a Pokemon can hit the bottom of the barrel. Please donate kindly to the hashtag Save Brock GoFundMe page right now and do your part for mankind.
what about you, Erico?
I think I'll pass. It sounds too good to be true.
Why? You just said in your speech to conquer your fear and surpass the odds. Come on, we can test your theory.
Sounds like we're trying to be superheroes or something.
It's no biggie.
I've got nothing. So after all the initial cutscenes are out of the way, the game lets you loose on its world with very little direction. In fact, it took me a good 20 minutes to find out where the actual start of the first level was. But after finding this cinema and pressing A against it, I soon found myself being transported to the first level. Now each level in Illbleed has its own horror story, and each opening feels eerily like those old Goosebump TV shows. So I count that as a positive.
You play a sport, a game, knowing full well that you're going to either win or lose.
Well done. So I dived headfirst into the game, and now I fully understand why I didn't have a clue what I was doing in this game back in the early noughties. If you walk around and explore the playing area as you would in most games, it will always try and repeatedly murder you with loads of really weird traps. And on top of that, you have heartbeat noises going 10 to the dozen, and a HUD that feels like you're looking at the cockpit of the space shuttle about to make re-entry. So after a swift deft and a follow-up Google search, I was soon made aware that at the start of each stage you have to locate some weird horror goggles that allow you to tag traps in order not to be hurt by them. The game itself then starts to make sense. So the point of it, you basically have to get through all the levels by managing to tag things and not walk into traps and tag them beforehand. Using the goggles can show you traps, hidden items, or sometimes it can just show you nothing. And using these goggles costs you adrenaline points. So in order to ensure you're not wasting your adrenaline means you've got to tag the right thing. And in order to work out what is the right thing you need to tag, you've got to use your three senses in order to make the best guess of what's going to be a trap. So for example, if your smell detector is going off, then you need to be looking for something that might smell. Easy, right?
Jimmy, it's time for practice! Get out to the training field now! Hey, get out, Jimmy!
I don't like it. The game also involves sections of combat that are clunky and unresponsive as hell, where you can either fight it out or escape by summoning a rescue helicopter that lets down a rope ladder, which makes no sense and is never really explained. The game can kill you in a number of ways, and the most obvious being is just simply when you run out of health. But you can also die through excessive bleeding. The more you bleed, the more health you lose, and if the bleeding bar fills up to max, you'll bleed out and die. You also have a heart rate, which thankfully you never forget about, as the game totally has non-intrusive, constant audio pumping at you all the time. Once your heart rate goes over a certain amount, it puts you at risk of heart attack. There are items out there you can find that'll help you along the way. But when the game makes items undistinguishable from combat encounters, they both show as a sixth sense on the monitor, and this combines to make the game a stressful, unsatisfying, slow-paced, poorly acted mess. After a few attempts and a bit of time, I managed to navigate myself through the 45-minute long first level of Illbleed. And in traditional gaming fashion, each level ends in a boss fight.
Okay then, here we go! Go! We did it! A home run! Jimmy! Oh, number 3, quest best! It is bad! I love it bad!
I quite honestly can't put into words how this cutscene makes me feel. I mean, what the fuck? So after an initial fight, which you have to escape via the helicopter rope, you have to get round this maze that involves avoiding the boss with quick dodges and endless running. You eventually find one of your friends from early in the game, and after a bit more mazing and chasing, you come to the final phase of the boss fight, which is really not fun. whatsoever. This section has you escaping from the giant version of the beast on this water bit, where you have to use clunky platforming to dodge attacks and not land in the water. Thankfully, the water doesn't actually kill you, but it does make you run slower, which means you're gonna get pummeled. The camera also wants to fight you all the way, which really adds salt to the wound. Eventually, you come to the control room and find...
Hello, control room. Can you hear me? This is Control Operator Jackson. I repeat, this is Control Operator Jackson in the control room. Our oil pressure is normal here. Average electric current is 50.
What am I doing? What the fuck do these I have no idea. What? After talking with the operator, you find out that the boss you've encountered is nothing but a giant mechanical structure operated by him. Erica doesn't like this at all, and in fact, neither did I. So I hit him with my bat. Now, I've wasted my time on a lot of things from my short but colourful life, but if age has taught me anything, is that now I'm old enough to be able to choose or do whatever or whoever I want. I point blank refuse to allow myself to go any further in this game, as I can quite wholeheartedly say, by playing it, I have become a lesser person. I don't care that I've only done the first level. I don't care if this game has more to offer. I don't care that I didn't save Brock. I've just got better things to do with my time. So with that, I bid you all farewell.